Welcome. In this short video, I'm going to go over my GMB email verification method. The reason we want to try for email is unlike the instant, like Google Search Console instant verification, email allows you a little bit more flexibility as far as spawning off additional GMBs from one domain. Okay, so there are two different versions of this. One is a hybrid version, where it's similar to GSC, but it's not nearly as much work, where we're going to borrow a little bit of authority from an expired domain, and I'll show you how to set that up. And then we're going to do it with a brand new domain, that would be version number 2, where we do a lot of similar account things, but we don't necessarily have to, have an expired domain or deal with any of that. So that's the basic premise and overview of this method, and the way it breaks down is the hybrid method with an expired domain tends to trigger within a week, as short as 3 days, as long as 7 days. Whereas in most cases, the brand new domain might take anywhere from 10 to 14 days. It just depends on what you're doing. So without further ado, let's get into it right now. All right, and so this hybrid version, you will run a scrape in the city that you want to email verify in. So that's similar to what we do with GSC, but as you're going to see here in a minute, it's literally no work, or I shouldn't say no work, but it's not nearly as labor intensive as GSC. Okay, so I've ran my scrape here for Oceanside. We're just going to use that as an example, and the way I've sorted it is I've sorted it obviously by city. I've removed duplicates. I've sorted it by websites and got rid of any listings that didn't have a website, and I sorted it by email so that we could find the emails or domain-based emails that match up with the expired domain. So that's pretty self-explanatory. And so what I'm going to do now is just quickly go through my list of expired domains. Okay, so I'm just going to take an expired domain, going to search it on the sheet and move that over. And obviously this is expired, so we're looking at a domain that has a domain-based email. In this case, that didn't work out. So I'll try the next one. All right, so in this case, it actually did relatively quickly. This shouldn't take any more than 5 minutes. Okay, so what we have here is the business called Instantgmbverification by the Sea. I think that's how you, or by the Sea. I think that's how you pronounce it. Maybe it's Bare. I'm not sure. So we have the domain that expired. And there's already an email, and this again is on the yellow pages or yp.com listing. Okay, so that's part of why we're there. That's how we're borrowing authority. All right, so there's some other things up here. I picked this one as well. It doesn't matter. The important point is, or the takeaway is, that you want an expired domain that you can purchase and control, and you want the exact email that matches that domain on your yp.com listing. Okay, so for example, let me go back here. I think I lost that. Okay, here. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to take the domain, and we're going to search it on Google. Okay, so let me pull that up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in quotes. I'm going to get rid of the HTTP www. You get the point. All right. And so what I'm looking for is I want to make sure that the yellow pages listing is indexed in Google. That's all I really care about. If I find an email on other sites, that's fine. We're not going to register this account through GSC, so we don't really have to worry about instantly verifying like we do in the Google Search Console method. So I know it's already on yp.com. I might make a quick check to see if it's somewhere else. It wouldn't be there. Maybe it's usually for Facebook, it's in the About section. And in this case, we don't have anything, which is fine. So if you find, again, a domain that's both on yp.com, meaning the email is both on yp.com, and unlike, I think, Nextdoor has a section for an email, and a couple others, but, if it has additional citations with an email, that's great, but it's not needed. Okay, second thing we're going to do is I've already identified the domain, the listing, the domain that's available, and the email exactly as it appears in the listing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to purchase this domain, and when I come back, I'm going to show you exactly how to set up the account. Be right back. Welcome back again. So If you're watching this video, that means you've already gone through my GSC Instant training, so I don't have to touch on this or go into much detail, but it is a little bit different. So I'm using Dynadot to buy my domain. In most cases, I'm going to end up keeping this domain, so the whole deleting it for credit most of the time isn't going to happen unless you verify within, I think, 3 to 5 days. I'm not sure how long it takes. This is 118 hours, so take that divided by 24, and that's how many days you'd have to return it or delete it for an account or for a credit back to your account. So a lot of people are using the I think it's a text record or DNS record for Dynadot. In this case, you don't want to do that. Okay, so if you're already doing this, this will be easy. If you're using the Dynadot DNS settings, you want to watch this quickly. I'm just going to click on the domain that I purchased. Going to go to DNS settings. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and select name servers. We have to have some type of live page for the website or the domain to trigger email. Okay, so that's the important part. So again, most of you know how to do this. I'm just going to go through this quickly. I'm going to set it up to point to my host name servers, which I did right here. I'm going to click on Save Name Server. That's set up. Okay. Then I'm going to go over to HostGator. This is just the hosting plan I use for these videos. It doesn't matter what you use. I'm going to set up the domain or create the add-on domain. Okay. And then once this is done, okay, again, we don't verify this through GSC. That would pretty much guarantee not getting an email verification. Maybe an instant, but we're not interested in that. And so what I'm going to go to now is I'm going to click on email, and I need to set up my email address. Okay, so I want to set up the exact address that was on the YP listing, which I have here. And this is going to be info at the domain. So I'll go back, and pretty simple stuff. Click on email account. Type in this case, info. This is very important that you have the exact email address that's on the yp.com listing. That's very important. So again, the name, let's see again, I just already forgot the name. That's extendbare by the c.com. So that's what I'm going to select. Let's see. That is right here. So of course I'll create my password, and you want to take note of this because you're going to use it. Okay, so I just used one of my passwords. So we'll do that again to confirm it. And your mailbox quota doesn't matter. I guess we'll set it to unlimited. Then we create the account. Okay, so what we have now is we have a domain set up with name servers pointing to your hosting plan. On your hosting plan, I guess we've created the add-on domain, so we have that created. And now we have the actual email address that we're going to use, which again is exactly what's on the yp.com listing. So if I go back here, search it, of course it's going to show up. Okay, so now that we have that set up, I'm going to do a couple things just to get everything prepared. Then I'll show you exactly what I go through to create the Google account using this domain. So I'll be right back. Like I said, this is we're going to go ahead and set up the actual account, the Google account, using our domain. It's very important that we do that. And just to kind of backtrack, both of these methods are referred to as seeding or harvesting or farming methods because they're not same-day verification. Okay, you make these steps, or you go through these steps, you set up the account, you prep it, and then you harvest the email trigger at a later date. And you can check every day, you can check every third day, whatever you want to do to trigger that verification. So just a quick little side note is this method, and both of these methods are considered what I call them seeding. You're planting the seeds and harvesting later on. Okay, so it's not a same day method, just want to make that clear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab my information for that email address. So access webmail. This is just the service I use, so maybe yours is different. So I'm just going to take this URL. I'm going to log out over here because I'm in a different browser. And so now I'm going to take it into the same browser where I'm going to create the account. Okay, so I'm just getting my email inbox ready. Again, that is, let me just grab it again. All right, here we go. And this isn't hard at all. Everybody should be able to do this. Put in my email address. and enter my password. And so now I'm going to log in. Apparently that wasn't the right one. Let's try it one more time. Or we'll just do it this way. This should be webmail. So let me just try this again. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe I put in the wrong password. Alrighty, one more time. Okay, sorry about that. So again, this is webmail. I don't need to sync it with Outlook or Google or anything like that. It's just a waste of time. So I'm just going to pick Horde as my default platform, and we're going to use this to verify our account, meaning verify the domain as our domain-based account. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to accounts.google.com. We're going to go ahead and create an account to manage my business. All right. So now I'm just going to make up a persona name. We'll call it Mike Stevens. A lot of people pronounce my name that way, even though it's Stefan. So we'll call it Mike Stevens. And now I'm going to click on use my current email address instead. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take that address, enter it here, and my password, I'm just going to use the same password I used for the email account. Again, keep track of this. You're going to need it. Let's see right here. Make sure that's right. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click next. All right, now they want to verify my email address, okay? So it says enter the verification code we sent to info@thedomainname.com. If you don't see it, check your spam folder. So I'm just going to refresh this, and sure enough, there's the email from Google. Okay, this isn't the GMB verification part. This is verifying your domain-based email to use as your Google account. Go ahead and take this code, and of course you guessed, enter it in there, click on verify. All right, so now I'm verified. Sometimes you're going to get the phone prompt after this to verify via SMS. If you do that, or if you get that, I should say, I use, and we've gone over this before, I use textverified.com, and to receive all my SMS messages. Okay, so you'd log in there. If you're not set up, you'd create an account. They take Bitcoin, but I believe if you email support, they'll take PayPal. So anyway, I'm not going to log in. This is all self-explanatory. If you haven't used this before, go through the steps and you'll figure out how to use it. I'll tell you exactly how to use it. In this case, and by the way, whatever service you use is fine. This just happens to be a service that I use. Okay, as simple as that. As long as you have a phone number that can receive an SMS, that's all you need. All right, so a recovery phone number is not, it means nothing to me. We're not interested in that. If you want to use one, great. It doesn't matter. So I'm just going to make up a date of birth. All right, gender, you have to put in something. Next, okay, so the account is now created. Now, one thing to note, in the account, we don't have Gmail set up. It's simply going to be a Google account with GMB as one of those products. Doesn't matter because any emails that we need will be received in the domain-based inbox that we set up, or the webmail. Okay, so it says your Google account is all set up. Now add your business profile. We're not quite there yet. Okay, so we're going to click on Not Now. And as you can see, we have everything. If we click on Gmail, it wants me to create one. If you want to create one, that's great. You really don't need to. Okay, so just to clarify that. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, and this is really simple. Okay, we're just going to go to our account settings, so manage your Google account. Go to personal information, and we're going to set up, in this case, we're going to set up an alternate email. Okay, this, when you sign up using your own domain-based email, this domain-based email is already by default your recovery email. which makes sense because they've already verified that. Okay, we want to go to alternate emails. Okay, go to alternate emails. Okay, so I have to put in my password. You're going to have to do this every time you change something or add something in your account. So what I'm going to use first is another domain-based email. All right, and so this doesn't have to be what's on yp.com. I'm just going to call it Mike at, and let me grab that information right here. Okay, so I'm going to let's copy this, put it down here. I'm going to change it to Mike. They won't let you use the same email address for an alternate email. Okay, so primary, this is just for my own notes. You should do the same thing. And alternate email. All right, so let me go ahead and save that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and register a new email address back in HostGator so that I can log in over here and verify the alternate email. So I'll be right back. Okay, so as you can see, I logged out of the info at, and now I'm in the Mike at. Now, one thing I wanted to clarify, I forgot to tell you, for the alternate email, you want the name or the first name and or the last name to be the email account. So in this case, Mike Stevens is the account holder, so it's Mike at our domain name. Okay, that seems to help sync things up quite a bit. So I've gone ahead and logged in. I've put this as my alternate or unverified alternate email, excuse me. So now I'm going to go back to this account, hit refresh, and sometimes it doesn't go through right away. So I want to make sure, okay, that's Mike at the domain, resend verification, great. Sometimes it just works out like that. It might not go right away, especially with web-based email. And the fact that I just set this email account up, I'm not sure what's going to go on here. Eventually, I should get it. And I always want to make sure I have the right email address, which I'm pretty sure I do. All right, so there we go, Mike at, have that. And then the email address is Mike at. There we go. So sometimes it takes a little bit. So now you're going to get a security alert email. Okay, a request was made to add Mike at domain to your Google account. Click here to verify the request. I'll go ahead and click there. All right, so again, I'm going to have to put my password in. Complicated stuff, right? So now I've added a domain-based email with the first name matching the account holder. Just to recap, and so we have the account, we have the recovery as the account email, which is info at, which matches the YP listing exactly. It's the exact same email that's on the yp.com listing. Alternate email has been verified as account holder's first name at domain. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is add a different email. All right, so I'm going to send, I'll show you here in a minute. I'm going to set that up and I'm going to come back and show you exactly what I did and why. Be right back. And for this additional layer, you're going to want to use just a free email account. You want to make something like a Gmail account, that's fine. I typically use either Outlook or Hotmail. You can use Yahoo. Yeah, I've tested a bunch. I don't think it really matters. Another Gmail account is fine. Hotmail or Outlook's my preference. So the reason I'm doing this, because a lot of the time, the trigger for the email is going to be a non-domain, or I shouldn't say a lot of the time, actually, let me correct myself. Some of the time, you're going to get that email trigger that's going to use the exact free account that you used for a alternate email. Okay, so what I do is I go to, in this case, outlook.com. Okay, and you're going to set up a free email account. So create a free account. Now I'm going to take this right here, mike.stevens0034, and if it's not available, I can change it in the Google account. I'm going to change this to Hotmail. Hit next. Luckily it was there. So I'm going to go ahead and use the same password. First name, Mike
Stevens. I don't think this really matters, but I like to keep everything as congruent as possible. Date of birth doesn't matter because this is a different provider. We don't have to match that up. Hit next. So Outlook's going to do its thing, and it's going to want me to solve a puzzle. In this case, it just wants me to make the picture upright. Hit done. Guess they're going to make me do it a couple times. Done. Alrighty. Doesn't always do this many, but I don't know what happened here. Great. Took me 21 seconds to do all of these. So now it's going to create the account. Sometimes they're going to prompt you with a SMS message. Not always, but if they do, again, use whatever phone number you want. Use your own phone number. It really doesn't matter. So now we have our inbox set up. Really easy stuff. Since I already entered this email before the Outlook account was actually created, again, this is technically Hotmail. Okay. I already have that set up there. I'm just going to click on resend verification, resend, give it a second, refresh. Okay, we're going to get that same security alert email. Just as we did before, click here, and if you guessed right, put in the account password. Okay, so now we have, if I go back to the account, personal info, we have our account name, we now have, of course, the main account, the recovery account, which obviously is the main account. We have an alternate account with a domain, and we have a free alternate account. If you wanted to go crazy and say you want to create a Yahoo or Gmail, you could, and I haven't tested it, so I'm not sure, but I'd rather keep it as one email. Again, because a lot of times, or again, not a lot of times, but some of the time, I keep saying it the wrong way, this exact email will trigger the email verification. Whereas with the domain, you're going to have a generic info at, and you can use whatever name you want. Okay, so now that we have that done, I'm going to show you the last couple steps that I do to secure the account, or optimize it, probably is the better word, secure and optimize it, or legitimize it. Either word, same thing basically. And so I'm going to start to get that set up, and again, when I come back, I'm going to show you exactly what I did, so we don't have to waste time, having me fumble around or to go through all the steps. Okay, again, the important stuff will be set up when you get right back. Welcome back yet again. So instead of setting everything up in advance, I'll show you exactly what I do. When I say fumble through it, it's because every time I do it, it's I'm trying to find the right place. So what we're going to go to now is we're going to go to YouTube, and we're going to set up a channel. Okay, so click on here, create a channel. Great, I don't. Your creator journey begins. Okay, I'll just say no thanks for now. Okay, so what I want to do is make sure I did create a channel. Maybe I didn't do that correctly. So get started. I'm just going to select a personal channel. Okay, obviously it matches with the account name. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up the links in an email to this account. Okay, so the website's simply going to be the website we bought. So I'm going to go ahead and take that, and I'm just going to put in here website. Doesn't matter. Anchor text really doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and create the URL. All right. Now, for social links, that's really not necessary. That's another option I'll go through later on if you go that route. For right now, don't worry about it. So now we have everything set up. The next thing we're going to do is go to the About section, and we're going to, and this is the part I always make a mistake here, customize channel. All right, I don't want to learn more. And what we're going to do is find the section where I can add the email address that's on the yp.com account. So again, if I go to branding, I don't think it's there. Basic info, I believe we can do it right here. Okay, so it wasn't that bad. So I'm going to go ahead and use my yp.com email right here. And I'm going to place it right here. So now I have that. Did I not have it? Please input a valid email address. Well, it looks like one. Oh, there goes, just a space. Go ahead and publish. Okay, so if I go to the channel, it's very generic. I mean, I'm not planning on doing anything with it. If you want to do something with it, that's great. I'm going to go to the About section, and right here it's just going to say View Email Address. Your Google can obviously read that, so the button means nothing at all. This is just another layer of validation within a Google property that reinforces again or validates the email address that we're using, which is tied back to the yp.com listing. Okay, so it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, once we've published the email on the YouTube channel, there's some additional things you can do to further validate the domain that we want to trigger for email. You don't have to do this, and obviously, probably don't know, I'm about to explain to you. This will help push things with your hybrid method, is what we're going through right now. Okay, so if I want to add some other links, I can go here, click add link or plus add a link, and now I'm going to go back to my citation profile. All right, so what I want to do is I want to grab the yellowpages.com listing. So we have that here. It's indexed. We're good with that. Again, we have the website. We have the email address. We're good to go. All I'm going to do is grab that URL. And I'm going to go back to the YouTube channel, which is right here. And I'm just going to say Yellow Pages or yp.com, or doesn't matter. So Yellow Pages. Right? Put that in there. We're good to go on that. Click on Publish. So now we have that. And then I can go and add in a couple other citations that have the link, meaning the expired domain URL, but they don't have the email address, which in this case we found I don't think any of them do. So I'm going to use important citations, very self-explanatory. So if I go back, I have my Facebook. I'm going to use the home page on Facebook because we had the link right there. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And I could have put this in the social links section, but I just really don't do that. Maybe I'll do both. It probably doesn't matter. So I'm doing a little bit of extra stuff you probably don't need to do, but I want to show you some things that might push things along. Say it doesn't trigger email in 5 days. So these are additional things you can do. You just want to save time when you're initially setting this up. You want to get this all set up within 5 to 10 minutes, once you become more proficient at it. Shouldn't be a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and add the Facebook URL. And I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. And let's see if there is a Yelp. Just anything that's somewhat important. So let's go back here. Where were we here? Okay. So at Facebook, Moodle, never heard of. I don't see a Yelp. So if they had a Yelp, that's fine. These two citations are fine. Don't necessarily need this, but it's just some additional things that you can do. So again, if I view channel, go to About, we have the website, we have Yellow Pages, and we have Facebook. These are just the website and 2 citations. Of course, we can view the email. And honestly, that's all you have to do. If there is a Yelp page with the link, you could do that as well. If there are super pages or Dexnos, or Foursquare for that matter, those are all important citations. Again, you don't have to do this at all, but it really takes, I don't know, a minute or 2 to do it, so it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all. So let's go on now, and I'll be right back. And so now we're going to move on to what we do with GMB. Pretty straightforward, but I want to show you what we do with GMB so that you do it correctly. So let's go ahead and set up our GMB listing. Okay, and so in this expired domain method, this part is very similar to what we do in GSC. Of course, we're not actually verifying our domain through GSC because, again, you could get instant verification and it's more predictable. Let me touch on that quickly. In some cases, even though you don't verify the account through GSC, it will, at some point, instantly verify. Now, obviously that isn't our goal, but we can't control if that happens. The only good thing about that, in my opinion, is at least you're able to control each account, each listing that you make. You know it's going to verify. It might not verify that day, but it will verify, if that makes sense. So it's not exactly what we want, but instead of scraping and doing all the citation profile lookups and all that other stuff to try to get the same day verification, we're just setting this account up and going right through it, okay? So we're going to go ahead and make up a business name. Make a branded, non-keyword based business name, kind of like we've done with the GSC. And so in this case, I'm just going to call it the account name, like Stevens Company. Okay, that's one way of going about it. Or if I want to do something different, it could be M&S Incorporated, LLC, whatever you want. I could be M.S or M. Stevens, or just something completely different. I like to use up strange names, so I'm going to call it Krakens Company. Really doesn't matter. Just something that you see there's no other businesses in the drop down. We'll go ahead and select that. We'll click next. Categories. Same thing as GSC. We want a very clean, non-spam category in order for this to work. Now listen, if you're going to go with a category that's technically not verifiable or eligible for verification instantly, this method will still work, but it could take months. All right, so let's not do that. In this case, again, I'll just use one of my normal categories that I've shared before, which will be payroll service. There are thousands of categories out there that you can use. Payroll service is just one I'm going to use in this example. Okay, click on next. Of course, we want to do the same thing that we've done in GSC. So I'm going to need to go back, find the address here for our domain. I don't actually need the phone number. And by the way, you can add a phone number. It probably won't trigger, and if it does, you can only verify like 3 to 5 spawns off of one phone number. And as of late, there's been a lot of weird things or suspensions with that. So, you know, let's just not put a phone number in. Doesn't really matter. So we're just going to take this, let's see, put it in this browser instead. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click on the map. And I'm going to place our address relatively close to the real address. So why don't we just go across the street? Okay, it's a building. Nobody else is there. Now, I'm not quite sure if it makes a difference if there's another GMB there. I do know it makes a difference if it's another GMB in the same category, which in our case is highly improbable because we're choosing very, again, clean, non-spam categories. So this is going to be our address. Same thing as before, or same thing I should say as the GSC model. No, we don't serve anybody outside of our location. And now we're going to do, you guessed it, we're just going to take the website domain, copy it, place it here. Okay, that's it. No phone number, just the domain. Click next. Click finish. Now, 99.9% sure it'll give us the mail option, which it did, which is fine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the info page. Google's going to want you to finish up and publish this, which it probably would. Okay, so AKA dropping the pin. All right, we're not interested in any of that. We don't want an added service area that will make it much more difficult to trigger email later on. I don't care about the hours. I really don't care about the phone number. I just want the website in there. All right, that's it. I'm not going to click on finish up, and that means most of the time this pin won't drop. Now, if it does drop, that's not the end of the world, and I'll show you what can be done if that happens, because sometimes that just happens. But we don't want to click finish up, and so what we have now is we have one business, verification needed, we're triggered mail via postcard, we didn't select anything, went back into the listing, and that's it. Okay, so this is the part where we've actually placed the seed. We prepared our account, several different ways we validated our account within Google and within YouTube. Now the next part I'm going to show you is optional, but at times it can kind of push that trigger date up a little bit or quicker, closer to this date. It won't take quite as long. And so again, I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to set up exactly what we need, and I'm then going to show you what I do if I want to give some extra emphasis on getting this trigger much faster. So I'll be right back. So this is the last step that you can do. You can get creative and do other things, but really that's not important. At this point, you really don't have to do anything, especially if it's already an expired domain with the yellowpages.com listing already indexed. We're mirroring all that using the domain, setting up the account. Like I said, several ways to reinforce that domain. So what I like to do to push these along for both the hybrid method that we've gone through and the new domain method, which by the way is the exact same thing. We just use a new domain and your own address wherever you want to place that GMB. So I use other accounts, other Gmail accounts, to suggest the creation of this account or this listing information. Okay, so I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I'm just using an account that I already used for a GMB that didn't verify. Make an account either via on your computer, on your laptop or desktop that's SMS verified, and or you can make accounts that are on your smartphone. What I'm going to emphasize is you don't want to use purchased accounts for this. You really shouldn't use purchased accounts for anything, but you especially don't want to do it for this step. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to grab the address of the listing that I'm trying to verify. I'm going to go ahead and go to Maps, and I'm going to go ahead and put that address in there. And now I'm going to go to not add your business, because we've already done that in a different account, but add a missing place. Okay, and so from here I'm going to take the name verbatim, just copy and paste. Category, same one, payroll service. Okay, address we already have in there. The only other thing that I want to put in there is the website. And since we actually created a page, not even a page, but it's on technically a page. Let's go show it right here. See, there's our page. But it's on a page, so I can take that domain and then add it as the website. Okay? Hit send, contribute more, go to edits. I could care less if this publishes. 9 times out of 10 it won't. It's the action of having additional or other accounts outside of the account we're using suggesting the place that we're trying to verify. It should make sense that we're just taking, these are quote unquote external forces outside of the account that we're optimizing, we want to trigger in, and they're just, again, I hate to keep using the same word, but they're validating. This will sit in pending. Now if it does actually drop the pin either here or in the other account, once you've noticed that, and the only way you can find that out is if you just take this whole thing, copy it, just place it in here, and go to Maps. We don't see it, we just see the address. That's fine. If there was or is the actual pin, then we could just do something like add the hours or add a phone number. Pretty much that's it. Just add something, contribute something else to that listing. It accomplishes the same thing. So what I like to do is I will use 3 to maybe 5 different accounts that I create, and I can use them over and over again. I can independently have them activity within the account, like suggesting edits to current places, uploading images or stuff like that. You don't ever want to flip it to a local guide account. Have a little bit of activity, but that's not extremely important. What I like to use, you can use the same 3 to 5 accounts over and over again. You can make new ones. I use 3, really on average I use 3, and I'll do this like every day for 3 days in a row or every other day. I never do it on the same day. Okay, so it's just one day I'll suggest it in one account, the next day I'll suggest it in another account, or I'll skip a day, make it sporadic. Maybe I won't do 1, 2, 3. I'll do first day, third day, fourth day. You know, it just doesn't matter. Kind of not the same. I don't want to do it every consecutive day, actually. It looks weird. So that's a good way to help, again, further emphasize to GMB that this listing that we've submitted is something that should be given an easier verification method based on the domain. Okay, so that's one of the things that you don't have to do any of this, by the way. You can just set it up and let it sit. Okay, that's fine too. But if you want to do some extra things when you get started, these are some of the extra things that you can do. Now, the other extra thing that you can do, which again isn't necessary, but if we go back to where's that domain? Let's just grab it from here. So obviously there's a page, it's just nothing's on it. If you want to use like a WordPress page or a single landing page in HTML, or even if you wanted to go through the trouble of downloading the Wayback Machine, like Wayback version of the site, you can do so. It's not needed. If you create a template, just a generic WordPress page, HTML page, whatever, and if you want to add the NAP, and you want to put it in local business schema as well, you can Google. If you don't have a local business schema template, I can add it here to the right of the video. It's pretty easy to Google. Doesn't matter if you have any content. You can actually edit this page as well, I believe, from within your hosting plan and within your file manager. Okay, so doesn't really matter, but you want to have name, address, phone number, and then, or actually in this case we don't need phone number, name, address, website, and you can include it in local schema. That's not necessary. None of that this whole web page thing isn't necessary. What if you want to make it into your, put it into your SOP for each GMB you're trying to verify? It doesn't hurt. Okay, it doesn't hurt at all. So now I'm going to take you through the process of using a new domain. And guess what? If you haven't figured it out now, it's the same exact process. Okay, it's the same exact process. The only difference is you're creating your own domain, and your own domain will have the name of your business, or whatever name you're going to use in the listing will be in the domain name. Okay, it will take longer on average for that to trigger an email verification because it's a brand new domain. Okay, so you can do the exact same things, all the same steps, and let it sit. You can suggest edits from external accounts or from different accounts. Do all the same thing. There are some things if you want to do, which if you're trying to speed up the process, you can build citations. I had them up here. You can build a Yelp citation. You can do a quick Facebook page with the email. Foursquare. Nextdoor, I just experimented with. I believe they do allow you to put in an email address. I'm just not sure how long that takes to publish and get indexed. Of course, YouTube we've already talked about. This isn't needed. None of that's needed. Okay, but if you're trying to push things along, and it's very easy to create a couple citations, especially Facebook because it has the email section. Yelp is very easy to do as well, and it's just another link, another backlink to the domain you're using, and that's it. So only difference is domain contains the name of the listing. It's going to sit longer. It's going to take longer to trigger, even using all these same steps, and maybe the additional things that you want to do, if it's part of your SOP and you don't mind, at least create a Facebook page with email in there. Yelp page is easy to do. There won't be an email in there, but it's a good backlink, so to speak. Foursquare is easy as well. I believe it publishes same day. Check out Nextdoor. I'm not 100% on that yet. I'm just testing that. And so that's it. That's the method. I've given you the clean, easy way, and I've given you some additional things that you can do. Just understand, after you do everything, let it sit. Like the first day, don't go back and click verify. Don't do it don't click verify every hour or every day. Today I have one set up. 3 days from now I'm going to come in and click verify. A couple days after that I'm going to click verify. Maybe I'm going to do suggested place edits every other day, sporadic different times of the day from different accounts. Maybe I don't do anything. Okay, so to conclude this video, part 2, because I'm doing this, let me just show you the date and time here. Date and time. Okay, show you when I'm doing this. Date and time. Today is the 26th of January. Right now it's 1:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to create 3 or 4 other accounts. Some are going to be expired domains, the hybrid method. Others are going to be brand new. I'm going to come back to all of them, including this one, probably within 5 days and see where we're at. I'm 90% sure some of them will trigger, and I'm 10% sure that some might need some more time, especially the new domain. So that's it. If I have any other additional things that I'm testing that work, I will add them to the platform here, and I'll let everybody know that's obviously purchasing and watching this method that, hey, there's some additional things you want to look into. Until then, I really encourage you to set up at least 5 or maybe 10 accounts. You have brand new domain, everything's the same except the domain name. The brand new domain name is going to have the GMB name in it, and then do, half of expired. The expired hybrid's most likely going to trigger faster, and that's about it. And so we'll reconvene here in about 3 to 5 days, and there'll be a new video, and you'll be watching me harvest. So hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, let me know. So let's just go over the overview, the pros and cons of both of these methods, which are essentially the same thing. Pros are you can scale this easily because you're just creating accounts and submitting to GMB. That's all you're doing. Hybrid, yeah, you're looking for an email, domain-based email with an expired domain. That, you can scrape the city, so that takes a little bit of time, but the actual manual labor time, if you want to call it that, is a couple minutes, okay? So this can be scaled, all right? This definitely can be scaled. If you have VAs, you can scale it, or a team, you can do this, scale it really quickly. And even if it's yourself, you can put like 5 to 10 of these out per day. And as they start triggering, if you're doing this every day or every week after, you're going to get GMBs that are triggered that you can obviously build whatever GMB you want from there. Okay, so it's almost like sending out postcards. Number one, you're not tricking Google and or the post office. Postcards, you can use spammier categories, which you can't here. So it's kind of like that, where you just submit, and that's it. It's definitely can be scaled. You don't have the same day, excitement of verifying the same day, but this is definitely a more straightforward, easy way to control how many GMBs you make without having to search stuff like citation profiles, without having to worry about buying multiple domains for each listing. Okay, speaking of that, some of the cons are you have to wait. It's not going to happen the same day. Sometimes it'll be 3 days, other times it'll be 5 to 7 days. It's just something you keep going at. You keep creating them. It's a system. If you work the system, it works. Okay, it's a method, it's a system. Okay, it's something I use, and it works well for me, so it can be scaled. Now, in most cases, you're going to be purchasing the domain and you're not going to be returning it. So you're not going to be returning it. So instead of paying $3 for a GSC trigger after you've returned it, and sometimes you pay more than that because it might take you 3 times or 4 times, I don't know where you're at, you're going to pay the $7.99, and that's it. And when you're done with it, you keep the domain, do whatever you want with it, get rid of it. It really doesn't matter, but that's kind of a con. But if you look at it this way, if it's $7.99 versus $3, yes, it can add up. But hopefully, if you're selling these, you should get your money, your return quite a bit. And if you're building out a lead gen business, then you want to scale it to work scales, economy of scale, or I'm sorry, whatever it's called. Whatever's within your budget, depending on where you're at and what type of revenue you're bringing in, will dictate what you can do. Now, one thing I didn't touch on, if you're doing the new domain or new GMB method where you're not using the hybrid, there are times where if you make the citations, you can use those free Gmail accounts to trigger. It's not always going to work, but if you're trying to save overhead, trying to save some hard costs, that's something to think about. Same exact process, but you're using a free email account. It doesn't always trigger as quickly. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. It's something I think that we all should test. But at the end of the day, with email, you're going to have to buy a domain, whether you create a new domain or you buy an expired one. But going back to some pros, I'm jumping back and forth. One of the reasons we trigger, or target, I should say, email verification is because we can spawn off multiple GMBs from one domain. So if it costs you $7.99 for a domain, and say you get 3 GMBs out of that, which you can do more, take that divided by 3, and all of a sudden your cost is a lot less. So wanted to go through the overview. That's what you're looking at. I've gone through everything, and I just wanted to add to this video so that you could kind of see the pros and cons and see the bigger picture. So I'll talk to you soon.